Well, it's another great morning and welcome viewers. I'd like to extend a warm Mayfair welcome to Steve Kerslake from Construction Sport, and the British Business Podcast is delighted to be talking to somebody who's very influential in the world of sport and in the world of construction. So, Steve, welcome. I really would like to start off with actually something that's very, very important, probably one of the most important things we've been talking about this morning. Why mental health and wellness in the construction industry?
I personally think, but the statistics show it and have proven it, that it is the single biggest killer of construction workers in general. So it's 2 a day taking their own lives now.
Wow.
Those figures are from a post or pre-COVID world. So what's that going to do to us? We can only think the worst, unfortunately. But we're losing anything between 40 to 50. I think the figures don't really get past 50 construction workers a year to injuries on site and that. And the money that is plummeted into health and safety on sites, rightly so, and it's probably why that figure is low, is just so much of it. But at the same time, it's why there's so much attention around that health and safety side. But why aren't we focused on the fact that 700 plus are killing themselves a year, but very little's being done? My kind of aim of it was more of a little bit of aggravation of being working on sites over the years and forever being told, any construction worker, no, when health and safety comes around, you just stay still and you put your gloves and glasses on and just stand still because I know that's what they're going to moan at. But none of them would come around and say, why aren't you doing as we told? What's going on? We keep asking you to put your gloves on, but you're not doing it. But none of them were interested to see, well, there's a reason why we're disobedient, or it could be we not want to pay attention, or we don't like the authority above us to a certain extent. So it's one of those, it just got to me, and I got to these points and working across quite a few big projects in the country and to the smallest ones on the ground, to a point where I'm being told off for something so petty here, but no one's taking into consideration that these people are killing themselves every day. So why are we having, I'd be in a big meeting on a Monday morning after a big possession works on a weekend, and you literally felt like you could cut the atmosphere with a knife, and it would be all about, because there's been a delay by an hour and it's cost the company X amount of money. But you're all sitting in there, and I'm the first one to say it. I just say, who died? That's because it seems that way. This meeting we're in, it seems like someone's died. They got nothing with these delays, and it was just kind of this. We're in this uncomfortable meeting on a Monday morning, and I remember just thinking, this doesn't need to be like this. Like, it's an hour's delayed. Like, there's stuff sitting on site what's been hired, what's cost us a lot more, was just sitting there doing nothing, and we're moaning because there's been a delay the weekend. But there's been no issues whatsoever. So why can't we just look at it as in, we've got through the weekend, everyone's good. But they're putting all this pressure on people all the time, and come to Monday morning, you're still sitting there with more and more pressure, and you're thinking, hang on a sec, I've just given up my whole weekend working here, and we've really put it in, and you're moaning at an hour's delay. And there were so many different angles of what come at me. I just thought, this is just so wrong. We're missing the picture that we're moaning about all these different things, but we're not looking at the fact that these geezers are killing themselves all the time. It's just kind of unbelievable to me. And even to this day, there's still not enough done. I'll do as much as I can, but very little. And I'm going to events all the time now, getting invited along to stuff. I'm very fortunate to be there, to go to a lot of stuff, and we're just seeing, I know that there's reasons for this kind of stuff, but the sustainability and the equality and all this kind of stuff of what the industry needs to do more. And then the last 2% of that day will just touch on the mental health side. And I'd be like, there's still so little, because no one likes to touch the subject. A lot of people don't. And is there a stigma? I don't even think it's a stigma around it. I think it's just the education of it, really. Like, if my
just the worst case scenario, and actually the smallest percentage being.
Yeah, it's just crazy. I always think, like, people say, is there a stigma around construction, stigma around mental health and construction? But I kind of I'm no absolute brainiac of a man, but I kind of feel if I don't know something about a certain topic, I'd rather not, and I don't want to. And I'm in a position where I don't want to show that I don't want to know. I won't talk about it. So in a way, I have a stigma towards not knowing something.
Sure.
So I always think, well, if we just educate these guys in the industry, everyone's going to talk about it. Because believe it or not, all of us, that's why my avenue through it is with sport, is the fact that all of us engage in sport to some degree. I always say, look, you don't need to be taking part in sport. Like I say, you can be the groundsman who puts the flags in the pitch, or you can be the guy who goes home and watches it on TV at the weekends. You're involved in the sporting world somehow. You're doing something with it, and it helps. It gives people that shut off, no matter what it is. And I can't talk about depression day in, day out, and then next year still be talking about it and talk about it. But with sport, that's changing by the day. Every single, I've got quite a few friends of mine are West Ham fans. You can tell them what the roller coaster of life they've been on. They're very much on a high at the moment. But it's just that kind of, it's a healthy topic. What literally gives people that, they talk about that football match or that rugby match, and for those seconds, the rest of their problems in the world disappear.
Yeah.
And that can only be healthy, I believe. So
that's amazing, and thanks for diving straight into that massively important area, and we will come back to that very shortly. Would you mind sort of rewinding now and going back to you? What sport, why that sport, and then that journey into sort of career, because I know it's always younger in sport. Can you give us that journey? Yeah, so I started off, I was born into a family of football fanatics, really, so I suppose. My dad was a big passionate footballer. My brother was a great footballer. Previous uncles were great footballers. Cousin was footballer. Everything was football. I was never the guy who played on computers too much at home. It was literally, if there was a ball, I'm going outside. Didn't matter what the weather was like. And it was the classic kind of, when the lampposts go off, you go indoors sort of thing. That was the mum's call. And so football played a massive part in my life from the get-go. Absolutely loved it. And I always say to a lot of people, I peaked too soon at football. I think I was probably about 8 or 9 years old. And then the genetics of my family, I think my weight kind of started creeping up, and I realised there wasn't much professional footballers of my size in the Premiership. I think Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank might have been the only one in there, and then I just realised that this natural progression towards the rugby. So that worked well when senior school come along, and then rugby. Then I tried a bit of football alongside, but it ended up anything really. And then I got into skiing. My dad took me away skiing, the two of us, and we went and stayed in a little pension house in the middle of Austria, and that stem of actually touching what the Austrian ski life was like. I think set up this whole new outlook on my life really, in terms of what I was fortunate to go back out there when I was 17, 18 and worked out there for 6 months 4 months behind a bar, and then I went back about years after, worked behind a bar, and I just got this point of, why do we have to go back to a job we don't enjoy? If I could be here in the mountains enjoying myself and get paid at the same time. Snow doesn't last there all year, but I can surely go home and do something I enjoy. And the whole sequence of events, and then you look at, people say to things like, where this will come back from, and I can never pinpoint to one thing, but it was just, I was involved in a big incident where I was assaulted in 2008 with sulfuric acid, unfortunately, before that come on the scene a lot. That was kind of a bit of a surprise when people don't realise. But construction banter got me through that, shall we say, the laughs that we have. But a lot of boys to say, it done me a favour, it straightened my looks up. But so there was this big incident of that, what then led to then what was pretty much diagnosed as post-traumatic stress disorder a few years later. And I kind of... I didn't feel like I warranted it, because I knew PTSD as a kind of a frontline war kind of, basically what you get if you go to war, basically. So I kind of denied myself that, and that led on to another sequence of events. What then pretty much turned into I had big stomach issues, ulcerative colitis, all this kind of stuff that went on with me. But all this time I was always involved with the construction world. And construction got me through it all. The site, the lads in the van. There's one thing I miss now, actually, where I'm kind of pushing this. I don't get that banter in the van with the guys. And so again, a lot of people say banter's not the word to use, or it's not nice, or we should cancel that word. But to me, it's got me through everything. But I just got to this understanding of what had gone on personally with me, and then from all these different avenues, that it was just a case of that the stomach issues I'd been linked with are massively. Mental health plays a huge part on your stomach and your digestive system and all this, and I went through not liking education and studying hard at school. I was not a fan of that whatsoever. I couldn't do classrooms. I still can't. That's why I choose sport, I think. And I got to this point where I realised that I've got all these massive stomach issues, and then I've just seen something online that says it could be linked to mental health problems. I thought, does that tie in with this kind of touch of PTSD, or what I feel like could be PTSD? And then it just led me on this kind of avenue of self-research, really. And then kind of, I wasn't interested in biology at all as a kid, and then suddenly I was like, if this could actually help me a little bit here, then I'm going to look into this a bit deeper. And then went on to different construction sites. We sat down on
we'd had a lady come in and she told us all about mental health or mental health in general and how we should live our lives. And I just kind of, in the most non-patronising way, I just said that you don't realise what it's like to put wet boots on at 7 o'clock on a December morning because the manager's saving the heating bill, so he's turned the radiators off the night before. So we put these boots on at 7 on the Friday morning, and then we're literally working through till 5, 6 in the evening. But we have to adjust our mindsets for that, and we do, and that's probably why we're all a bit twisted in a way. Probably why we've got these issues. But the mindset of being a construction worker is completely different to anything in the world. I believe there's going to be different other industries that are similar to a certain extent, but to be able to go and do that day in, day out, just like bricklaying as such, or you put a brick on top of a brick on top of a brick, and then tomorrow you'll do a brick on top of a brick, and that is going to take some effect on your psychologically, and your mindset has to be, you do all these different things. So we started doing it with one of the first managers I had, actually. He was very competitive in the athletics world, and he kind of, looking back, changed my mindset on things. So you'd have a pack of blocks would fall over and you've got to load them all back up or something like that, and he'd go, don't worry lads, no gym tonight, we can work out here. And it was literally that. It was a half hour, 45 minutes of literally packing all these blocks up, but that was the way to look at it. It's like, let's get through it, and everything was a challenge, and let's do that. And that sporting touch of that really brought it to light with me, and just kind of got that through. And so I went into these big projects, and I realised that we were doing a lot of hours. I was in a position where it was kind of trying to set myself up with a mortgage at the time, and we were offered 72 hours a week with work, and we were taking everything we could. But then I realised that I was putting all my effort into it, and I'd cancelled out rugby and football or any sport because I was working Saturday, Sundays every week, and then most weeknights as well. So sport went out the window, and I then realised how much of a mental health impact that had on me, and I noticed there was one thing that the project said to us. That we said we had a 12-week window and of possession works on Crossrail.
What was your position at that time?
I was a foreman. Yeah, okay. So I kind of looked after.
So you've got men underneath you.
Yeah.
To look after.
Yeah, so I had probably 15, 20 guys working in my area as such that I looked after.
So it's not just about your mental health, it's about its responsibility and looking out for.
Yeah, so you get them all day, every day. And I looked after subcontract gangs who would come in on a price for jobs, so they knew what their job was. And I fortunately I still to this day would say they were probably the best outfit what there was in the country. They kind of all gone their separate ways now, but they were such a great company, and they operated so good, and they were like the prestige kind of, to me, that's the prestige civils gang who knew they were in to see everything they'd done. Teamwork was brilliant.
Did it almost feel like family or
it did,
some kind of team?
I hadn't known these guys for long, and they were all from up in the Cotswolds, and it was me and my engineer as well, a great mate of mine. We dealt with these guys, and they were such fun. They were so put this in terms of construction chat, they were very un-PC, should we say, to say the least, to anyone and everyone and each other. And but they were just good. They had all different trades, all different people, but they all knew how to do each other's job as well. And they were fully qualified, ticketed to do each other's job, but they had their specialist ones as well. That the sequence they worked in, and then they went to an agency and actually hired in 5 guys to come and assist them, and they were 5 Gurkhas who come as well. So they were all ex-military and coming to the construction site, and they were unbelievable. Yes, you see, we chopped down, upset a few people, but we took down a lot of trees, and they were cut down into a lot of stumps. And these Gurkha lads just cracked on, like loaded up lorries and lorries and lorries, because we could only get them off by hand because of the way that the site was.
Okay.
But the sequence and how they'd done it, it was brilliant. This team of guys were incredible, and after this, like 8 to 12, I think 12 weeks, I think it was, the company said that as a thank you to you all, we're going to take on a night out in London. And we ended up going to Dirty Dick's outside Liverpool Street. I think it's quite renowned for it. And we didn't go any further. We must have been in there for 3-4 hours, and then we were all going home in a bad state. It was literally because this 12 weeks of just pure testosterone and this grunt and this shattered fatigue. Everyone went into this pub and just literally had... Yeah, we had a wild few hours, put it that way. It wasn't long, but we didn't need much longer. The bar was free. It was the worst thing they could have done. And now looking at it, you can see why. They should have given us a cookabout somewhere or a game or do something to address these stresses and pressure, I believe, in a positive way. Don't get me wrong, we all look back on that night as if it was a great night, but 6 or 7 of us were holding on to our marriages the day after, because it was like, there was one guy that he reckons his bags were packed and the photos had been taken down. But I don't know how true that was. But then the way he come back in the office on Monday was very much towel between the legs. But this is what it's like. It's like we get pressured into these jobs. And we do them. And that's like the guys at the classic pub on a Friday afternoon. The guys will go in there and just, they take their money, get paid that day, and they're in the pub straight away. They spend all their money on the Friday evening. And come Monday morning, they're asking for money for lunch again, sort of thing. And but it's as if we put that pressure on these guys to do that, and we don't give them any opportunity but that. You know what I mean? And I got this kind of understanding. I wanted to join the military when I was growing up as well, and I always looked at it. I wanted to. My dad was a Royal Green Jacket, and we had my uncle was as well, and a few other close friends who were military, and a few guys from the sporting world I knew had gone into the military world. And I went to sign up for the Royal Marines at I was 16, and I went through it all, and I was a couple of weeks away or signing contractually to go down to Lympstone to do the training, I think it was. And it was this would have been just post 9/11, or 9/11, it might have been a couple of years after that. And I spoke to someone, because I signed up to go in there for Arctic warfare training. That's what I wanted to do, because I loved skiing. I was sold the dream of, you join the army, you'll go live in Norway for the rest of your life and just ski. I thought, I'm all over that. Yeah, and I was, so let's do it. And so I did, but again, because of post 9/11 world, I met someone who'd gone in for the same reasons and ended up in Afghanistan within 6 weeks. And I'm man enough to put my hands up and say I completely bottled it. I did. I literally just said, "Whoa, I massively respect them. People would do that." I said, but I just wasn't in a position where that wasn't where I wanted to be. No. So I didn't. But I had so much respect for them. But I was sold that dream of going into there because of this advert on TV, what showed people skiing in the military.
Yep.
And then again, all these different events going through my head over the last few years, I realised that, why can't construction use that same philosophy around sport and build that culture around sport to attract that 16-year-old me? So
was that almost like a spark?
Yeah.
That you saw something, like a vision.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you formulated this idea, a plan, a way forward.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, pretty much. And I didn't realise that until years later either. Really? I just look back on all these things. I think it was, again, to the podcast, and that's why I love doing these things, like with yourself, I'm hugely thankful for. But over the years of travelling around London or driving all the time on the road, there's plenty of time for education now. It's just put a podcast on and learn. It's a classroom, yeah. Yeah, definitely. It's the best classroom for me ever. I can't do classrooms. I can sit in my van all day. So it's been brilliant. But I realised that, I thought, hang on a sec, all these different kind of things, like this, and then I went and spoke to a few people, and as you do, you find the negative people very close to you. That's for sure. Like on site, you speak to people, no, that can't be done, this can't be done, and I just kind of thought, no, there's no reason why this can't be done. No. We were at the UK Construction Week exhibition in 23 years ago, so now 2019, 2020, before COVID. Yes, it's been 2020, I think. And they got in touch with me and said that we've got a spare hall. Could you just do something sport related? And I said, yeah, let's give it a go. So we did, and we put a little touch rugby tournament on within the exhibition itself. And it's a 5-a-side tournament, football, and then a bit of golf. And it was just about the people who walk around the exhibition to get them involved and just push us to show what we're trying to do. But then Saracens Rugby Club got involved, and they said they're interested in sponsoring the touch rugby side of it. And then I hadn't really found this way, or I started off with no idea how to do it whatsoever, but I just knew that's the best place to start, isn't it? Surely, because you can only go upwards now. Yeah. And I'm not afraid of getting things wrong at all. Like you say, they're the biggest learning curves out there. But when Saracen said we want to sponsor it, I decided I need to speak to these guys direct and find out why. I said, why do you want to sponsor it? And they said, well, 35% of our kind of corporate revenue and sponsorship and that kind of stuff all comes from construction. So I then looked at it and took another look at, say, the Premiership Rugby, the website, looked at all the main teams on there. I know them all, obviously, but then clicked on every Premiership Rugby team, and then bang, that front homepage was pretty much a construction company somewhere on there, whether it be on the shirt, the side sponsor or part sponsor of a stadium. There was, in that first kind of, every page at the time had something construction related, and I realised that obviously echoes across football, but from the elite game to grassroots stuff. Our industry is involved everywhere. Like that just looked this morning. Actually, a good friend of mine is a plasterer. He's just sponsored the local football team, and we get involved with a few teams here and there. I just like how we put so much money as an industry, rightly so as well, into the game. So why can't we flip that on its head and use that interest, what the industry's clearly already got, and push that into improving the industry, not just for mental health but physical health. And then because of this advert that I see of the skiing, use it to recruit the youngsters, that show these 16-year-olds that if you come and jump on a digger, we'll educate you, we'll get you ticketed. We're earning good money driving machines, especially with the demands of HS2. We can get you into the industry. Oh, and by the way, we'll put you through a scheme where we can actually get you playing rugby as well, or playing football, or you let us know what your passion and hobby is and we'll back you and support that. And I see it all the time now with the police, the fire brigade, the ambulance service. It comes up every 3 or 4 weeks. This is the team playing this team. The ambulance might be, like London Ambulance might be playing against the police force. And it's got all their guys, and it's got the regiments, or the police forces, or the areas that they work for, who they're representing. So it's like, this is a marketing tool for these companies to show we're supporting this person by doing this, and he's representing our company. So I'm trying to educate, trying to push that into construction to say, look, don't give him a day off to go and play football for nothing. Use him. Use him. So can you go and play football for us? We want you to go and play. Yeah. And whether that be over the field, over the park, or whether we get some contracts kind of in place with some good stadiums where we can host stuff like this. So I'm massively passionate. I just don't see. I will not be told it won't work by anybody, very much, and it will, and it's getting there. And it's been a hugely positive last 6 to 8 months, and where we are now. I like to think the industry's starting to listen a little bit. I think one person said to me, again in a very un-PC way, but I was trying to change the words of the way he said it, but he pretty much said, you're a thorn in the side, but I don't want to get you out because you're such a nice bloke as well. And I said, I'll keep them coming for you. I said, you're going to say yes to me, and he is. They're coming on board next week with one. I said, you're going to come. I said, because every time you say no, you've challenged me. Then I'm going to come and make you say yes. And I always do it. We're obviously being respectful about it, but it's just saying, come on. There's no reason why we shouldn't. We can help
because the cause is so great.
Yeah, and it helps. Science proves it. Sport, and every 4 years we all wait for that 4-year cycle of a World Cup or the Euros, but then especially the rugby, again, a bit biased towards that, but it's the world in union. When it all to the song, and it says how much it unites people, and then the football and how it brings the world together. It's like, it's proven there and then that sport can help us mentally, physically, in every way, shape and form. So why don't we? It's free. You can go have a kickabout, go for a run, go for a walk, just engage in any way. It doesn't cost anything. So, but we don't want everyone behind us. It's actually brilliant if everyone does, but we just want to make, a good friend of mine said about the ripple effect and how that works. And we can just say to people, look, just engage with sport, just do anything you can. Cause these guys don't want to sit in classrooms. We're on construction sites. I've said this many times. We're on construction sites because we found in classrooms, most of us. Yeah. I'll talk for myself there personally. Yeah. We don't do classrooms. I've seen many of them. You put some big hefty lads who only deal with the outdoor fresh air. You stick them in a classroom with a radiator, you've got about 5 minutes, and then there's a snoring coming out of them. Yeah, and we don't function in heated rooms. My wife knows it at home as well. So indoors I struggle to do stuff, but you put me in the garden. I'm not a dog, to put him in the garden, he'll crack on with something, really. Wow. Yeah.
So how many people are there in the construction industry? Have you got those sort of numbers so that because
what is it there? Yeah. I think it's around the 4 or 5 million, I believe. Quite me on that. Yeah, I think it might be 5 to 6 million. I think it's huge. Yeah, it's huge, and it's
one of the biggest has to be one of the biggest employers.
Yeah, for sure. I read one statistic, and it said every household has. I think it's something like pretty much every household has. A huge amount of households have pretty much one person in that household is part to do with the construction industry. It could be an accountant who's literally doing the books for a construction case. There's the links to it. Yep. Yes, connected to the industry. Yeah, it's huge. And that's what we're trying to say to people. People say, Steve, can we get involved? Not too sure if we do this or we do that. And like, you make banners for a living. So you make banners for construction companies. Your marketing is on construction sites. You can help us. And there's any way, shape or form. And even we've got these events that we do and walks and big walks we're doing. And I open up to everyone because, this lady might come along. She's a cleaner. And she goes, I'm not a cleaner, but I really like walking. But I've got this cleaning business. Can we get involved? I go, yeah, of course you can. Not because she cleans the construction sites, but chances are she's got a friend, a cousin, a son, a daughter, an uncle, an auntie, or somebody who's in the industry. So then she will directly know someone, and she'll know that he might need a little bit more support, or she'll learn a little bit the understanding of what he goes through, really. So it's understanding the world, really, to realise that the industry is different and we're massively struggling. Yeah,
you've given us a great journey up until present day of why you got into it, how sports connected, why sport for you personally. We get to present day. What's the future look like? What is it that you're wanting to achieve? How are you looking to set your goals in terms of helping these people who are vulnerable, massively vulnerable?
Yeah. The main thing is we just want them, again, is using, from the charity perspective, what we're all about is kind of, we're now in a position where we just want to, the awareness is done, and we've said this many a times as well, awareness we're done with. Like, we all know, the industry knows, the world knows that our industry is bad in terms of mental health statistics. We need education now. It's like we need ways to be educated. It's all good having support services for people when they're at the end, or they feel like they're at the end, and they want to obviously make those decisions what they can't turn back from. But it's a case of, let's not let them people get to that stage. Let's show them the sport. Let's build the support. Let's build the culture within the industry to pretty much show people that, I can have these dark days. Yes, I'm going through a tough time, but it just turns out that now I know that he's having a bad time. My time really isn't that bad, is it? Because it is. There's many reasons of the guys who talk about it, and a lot of people I deal with who speak on the same kind of platforms that I speak on. We've all gone through stuff.
Sure.
You don't really find anyone who hasn't gone through it and understands it. So it's now a case of trying to educate those people who haven't gone through it to show them that if you do come across, because you are going to, it's life, isn't it? I say to everyone, most of us have a dog or a cat in their lifetime, and then so we outlive those things. So we're going to have to witness losing one of these loved ones or something like that. So we're going to come across the likes of death and all these things, what could be deemed as depressing topics and all that. But it's like, wake up and smell the coffee, really. You're going to have to deal with it eventually, and why not prepare yourself or to understand that? It's like when people say they're not emotional people, or they've never cried or something, and all this and that, but then it's like, but then suddenly they get caught out one day and they go, exactly. Where did that come from? They don't know nothing about it.
It comes from nowhere.
And you just don't know how it's going to hit you, do you? And then you speak to some of the toughest, what you think of the toughest people in the industry, and they're the softest people in the world. I always say, that's probably the way I am. And my dad as well, my father, he's a London cab driver. He's very much a replica of Ray Winston, I think. He's kind of that character. But he can't watch 30 seconds of Sound of Music without blubbering. That's just it. And he'll put his hands up to it. When he hears this back, he'll probably cry thinking about it. And but he was always just open. And then my mum and dad always said to me, just talk. So we always have. But if we can just get that in the industry and educate people, not just, we can say all these topics of whatever the issue is, but it's more a case of, let's educate people about them. Let's know what anxiety is, or what depression is, or what anything is. When you have these dark days, and they're only temporary. You can get through them, but So
is one of the plans in the event side to hold events? That awareness, I completely understand. What you're saying is that in a step program, the awareness is done. Yep. Now it's about events. Now it's about that touch to those people. So what have you got coming up?
So we're pretty much on the event side. We've got an education program we're now pretty much rolling out in terms of online platform that we're supporting people with, in terms of where we can get these companies on board with us and in front of them, get an education platform put to them. What's worked out brilliantly. We're just literally getting their first. What is it working at now? First 300 people onboarding for start of May, and then we're looking at the further 300 to 400 will be in April, June. So we're literally building on that now to build that up to show that 100% of the people we deal with are getting an education platform put in front of them, and we're mandating this platform, so these people have to do this, and we're managing it with the companies that do to make sure they do, and they've got a legislation perspective where these guys have to do it, and we're saying to them that we don't want you to sign up to us to donate us money and then we don't do nothing about it. We want to work with you. And by putting this platform in place with yous, we can see what we're doing, and we're doing it, and we're on it every month and every week, and we can pretty much show that we can show the results, and we can build on the statistics of what we find. So that's that side of it. And then the event side of it would say, yeah, we're putting, especially with COVID, we had a big launch of evening at Saracens Rugby Club at Allianz Park, as it was Stonex Stadium now a few years ago, to launch all these events, and we had a calendar of events, and then COVID hit. So we know where that calendar went, and out the window, that one. And but now we've got to it now, we're just getting to that point now that it's one of those, we think we're at a stage, so we do that, and then we just suddenly realise, well, we've got a bit more interest than we thought. Oh, it's got a bit more interest than we thought. And it's really took a massive, massive positive, pretty rocketed in a way the last few months. But we've got approached by UK Construction Week again, who we've done the exhibition with a few years ago, and they said, Steve, could you put on an event to open up the exhibition at the Excel Centre?
Wow.
So we're doing that next week. And that was huge, because that puts us in front of an audience of, I think, 500,000 people through their social media channels and all that avenue, and newspapers, their press coverage is they've got a monster kind of marketing campaign behind it. So it's hugely thankful for that. So then I went out there and I thought, right, Tuesday morning it opens. We need to do an event over the course of a few days and finish it. What can we do? And I did one 5 years ago where we walked the whole Crossrail route. So we walked from Reading to Shenfield and walked every station. This is where the ideas of the events come into it a bit. But I then had this philosophy of the golf days. As you get a whole sponsored at a golf day, let's do that with train stations. So we did it with Crossrail, and then once Mr. A had realised Mr. B had literally sponsored 500 quid, he did that, and then this guy he did Mr. C didn't not Mr. B to beat him, so he doubled it, and then it's this competition. It went down the line. The next thing you know, we'd gone for every train station, had a sponsorship in place already, and it worked brilliantly. So when UK Construction Week said to me about doing this exhibition, I said, what can we do? So got in front of a few people I know and said, do you want to come on board with it? I've got an idea, and like every good idea, everyone says it's a stupid idea. And then I go, well, yeah, watch me run with it. Let's see what happens. I said, I think we should do a marathon trek through the night and finish it at the Excel Centre. And then someone said, yeah, great idea, but it's on a bank holiday Monday, the night before. So I just said to him, yeah, what of it? And in my head thinking, oh, that might be a bad term, but I can't admit it. So I backed myself and said, yeah, there's no problem at all. I said, if people want to come on it, brilliant. If not, I said, I'm doing it. So, and I've had this same thing, everything. I was like, I've been selfish enough to say, and proud enough to say, I do this because it helps me. Yes. I said, that's what I do. And if you want to jump on board, brilliant. If you don't, no worries. I'm completely open. You're on with us. If not, catch up with us later. So I literally said, let's do this. We're going to start at midnight. We've got 10 hours to get to the exhibition. And I knew 5 or 6 people who said yes, and I knew they would. They've been kind of the die-hard club as such, the lads who just literally said, Steve, it helps us so much. Can we come out for a window of opportunity to just literally chew the fat as such? But it went 5 people, and then suddenly this was 3 weeks ago, we had a few delays in it, talking to big projects and big companies with political positions, I suppose you'd like to say them. There's a lot of hurdles you have to get through. So we got delayed in a bit of planning, but I got it out 3 weeks ago, and then I sent to a number of people, do you want to come on board? And then next thing I know, we had 10 or 15 of us. I thought, oh, this is good, great. And then one guy said, Steve, there's 4 people from your site want to jump on. And then next thing you know, bang, 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 we're now 6 days away from it. Yesterday we had 52 people, and the train journey here this morning we're now on 56. So as I just said to everybody, I said, look, here's the plan. What do we get sponsored? What are our golf? What's this golf hole kind of strategy? I said that there's 20 bridges in London from where we hit it at Twickenham Bridge is the first one we come to. Yep. Let's get sponsorship. We've got 20 bridges. Let's get them sponsors. So we've gone out to a number of companies and said, do you want to sponsor a bridge? Yeah, bang, bang, yeah. And then we've got 4 main companies that are sponsoring it, the main event. And then we sold out. I think we're going to cut off in about 20 minutes. And I'll find out after this. And if we've got the last one done, I'm sure there's a company that actually said they will. So, yeah, we're sold out. So all these companies are sponsoring it. They want to be part of it. We've been a couple of camera crews along. But the main thing and what we're also trying to do with it is it's not just us going for a walk. It's just with the whole digital media, and that's why these podcasts I believe are so good, and the scope in the future really, and the YouTube stuff, and just creating the content. I've realised, and I've been directly approached by people who aren't the guys that talk on sites, these big stereotypical ugly guys. Half of them I didn't think liked me for a start, and they messaged me like carrying on the great work. And I think, I must be doing something right. Yeah. So, but it's just, and I'm like, hang on a sec. If he's just done that online, he would never speak about it. So we're hitting that area of people who don't talk. Yeah. And I think this is what digital media does. It just kind of shows that. Everybody says publicly, we hate social media, it's no good for our mental health and blah blah blah, but what do? We get on our phone to read about it. Yeah, so like it or lump it, it's get on board with it.
Use it for the positive.
Yeah, 100%. There's so many ways to look at anything negative, isn't there? But if you just take that little outlook of life and go, should we try and find something positive in this? Yeah, you might be surprised.
So finally, Steve, one last question. Is there a big goal? Is there a big objective? Is there something out there you would love to do, you'd love to see, you'd love to arrange?
I think there's it's not as I say, literally, I'm very conscious as well when you hear about all these high performance achievers, not that I'm one of them, but I like to think I could be one day, but is where I'll get to, and then I can just literally let myself know, we're there now, brilliant, and now let's move on and go higher and higher. But I've always had philosophy with the Army and Navy rugby match at Twickenham. Again, it's the construction industry what funds pretty much that stadium every time. The amount of people I know in the construction world just suddenly at these corporate gigs when these England tickets come up, they're all there. So my theory is, how can we twist that into, I want to see the construction industry play against the Army or Navy at Twickenham. That is my kind of one of the milestones along the journey. I don't see why not. If you look at the kind of the championship area, say first and second, the top tiers in the professional rugby world to the semi-professional, these guys, a lot of them are in the construction sector already. I've spoken to a few guys, like guys to the RPA, the Rugby Players Association, and they've got these guys who are stepping down from professional rugby, but now they're in the construction world. Yeah, so let's get some of these guys, and let's get the best team out of the Army and Navy, and we can give them a good game. I'm confident we can. So, if there's anyone out there who can help us get there, then please, I want a coffee.
What a fantastic objective.
Yeah.
Steve, it's been fantastic listening to everything that you've got to say. I can't wait to go and have a coffee with you after this. To our viewers, another fantastic British business podcast. And till next time,